March 25th, 2025. Margot, please take it away.
I, Margot G.K., the Town Clerk of the Town of Morristown, do hereby state that it is 7:32 p.m. on Tuesday, March 25th, 2025, and that this regular meeting is being held in Council Chambers, 200 South Street, Morristown, New Jersey. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided according to law by written notice to the Morristown Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Town of Morristown, and to the Newark Star Ledger, both more than 48 hours ago. Notice was also posted on the bulletin board at Town Hall and filed with the office of the Town Clerk of the Town of Morristown. I do further state that I shall enter into the minutes of this meeting a statement that such notice was furnished as particularly described by me in this public announcement. I'll take a roll call. Councilwoman Foster.
Here.
Councilman Iannicone.
Here.
Councilwoman Lindsay.
Here.
Councilman Polipchuk.
Here.
Councilman Russo.
Here.
Councilman Silva.
Present.
Council President Umbriac.
Here.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's please pause for a moment of silence. Yes, sir.
We want to keep Constance Montgomery in our thoughts and prayers.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. We want to keep in our thoughts and prayers Constance Montgomery, who passed away last week. For those who knew her, she was very active in Morristown for many decades. She moved to Arizona and retired many years ago. Her daughter reached out. We did fly the Flags Half-Mast in her honor. She was part of the school merging. That's how far back she goes, and many other things in Morristown. She will be sorely missed, and she was definitely someone to reckon with in the town of Morristown. And and just wanted you all to keep her thoughts and prayers and let her know that we reached out and we talked to the family and we posted it. It was in the paper, and just wanted to let you all know.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, there are 8 items on the consent agenda. Are there any that members of council would like to pull for separate consideration?
Item number 2, please.
Okay, I would ask for a motion, please, to approve consent agenda items number 1 and 3 through 8.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Councilman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay?
Yes.
Councilman Polipchuk?
Yes.
Councilman Russo?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Council President Umbriac?
Yes.
Motion carries. Consent agenda item number 2 is the facilities use request application for the Verizon Corporate Classic 5K on July 17, 2025, from 7:30 p.m. to 9:15 p.m.
Councilman.
So I'm sure everyone knows too, on our packet, we didn't get the race course like we traditionally do. Requested it, it got sent over. We didn't get the site plan, which they usually provide us, where the soundstage is going to be, trucks, whatever it is. And then on top of it, over the years, I've gotten, well, last year I got a lot of numerous complaints from residents regarding litter along the course from the disposable cups. There's 2 or 3 water stations along the race, and I had to go out days afterwards to pick up the cups. It was kind of insane. And this is a race that pulls 2,000 to 3,000 people every year, which is amazing for Morristown, but it is a huge impact to our ward and the traffic. And the course bifurcates the ward. So traditionally, we ask for the race course itself to be notified, but I'm asking that we notify the entire ward. So I reached out to the administration, and Jillian, if you want to fill in any gaps there.
Not much to say, except that I have asked the police to verify the notification goes out. As requested, I will also follow up directly with the organizer as well to confirm that they understand what the expectations are.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are we going to vote on that this evening, Councilman? Or?
Sure.
Okay, on the adoption of consent agenda item number 2, may I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay?
Yes.
Councilman Polipchuk?
Yes.
Councilman Russo?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Council President Umbriac?
Yes.
Motion carries. At this time, I will open the floor for a public hearing on any matter. When called upon, please approach the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Be advised that any derogatory comments targeting members of council and/or administration may be ruled out of order.
Mr. Burns, come on up.
Can anybody hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Bill Byrne, and I live at 100 Franklin Street, Morristown. And I'm here to talk about Disability Awareness Month. It started like in March, and it goes all the way through till the end of March. And so, first of all, I'd like to say that the parade was good because I brought up my sign that says, disability rights matter, or human rights. And so I just want to say about anybody in office or whatever, people with disabilities should have the same rights as everybody else has, to live in the surrounding communities and stuff. And so I just ask you to please call your Congress people about our direct care staff wages increase, because it's pretty bad, when you have a shortage of staffing. I mean, it's everywhere, and it really gets a lot of us people that receive the services, it really gets us ticked off because there's not enough staffing to go around. And it's hard because, especially in the group homes, sometimes they have to send, staffing down from like whatever, Catch Road or whatever, and rotate them. So we really need more state and federal and state dollars going to direct care staff. And so it's vitally important. And what happened to that surplus of money that Murphy one time was bragging about that they had? So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Byrne. Anyone else from the public that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Keith Servell. I'm from 18 Erskine Drive in Morristown.
Can you please spell your last name?
Sure, it's Survell.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm just here to speak briefly on the subject of the pickleball courts at Lidgerwood Park, right behind my house. I was very pleased to hear that there are plans to move the courts someplace else, someplace more suitable, someplace where the noise will be less disruptive to the community around it. I applaud that. I look forward to seeing that come to fruition as soon as possible. So I hope that that actually does happen and that there are no impediments to that. In doing my walks around the neighborhood, I have noticed that the sound, especially now when there's no leaves on the trees, can be heard all the way over at Windmill Pond to the east, all the way over on James Street to the west, and on Maxwell Court to the south, and of course all along Lidgerwood Parkway itself. So it is really, the sound really does carry, and it is quite noticeable and quite disruptive, especially if you live close to it. Most of last year I couldn't really spend much time outside because there was so much frequent play, and the noise is just grating on the nerves. So I'm very glad to see that that's going to go someplace else, someplace more suitable. I also just hope that when that does happen, the existing courts go back to being tennis courts like they were, and that any markings for pickleball are removed, because I think there's still some on the eastmost court. And as long as there are markings there, as long as it looks like people can play pickleball, they're going to, even if the signs say they're not supposed to. And as residents, we're kind of getting tired of, and we're not supposed to police the use of the courts. It's not really our job, so I hope that we don't have to do that much longer. So that's all I have to say. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Armington.
Stefan Armington, 16 Cutler Street. Just 2 points. First, regarding the 5K race. I believe at this point, with the superhero races all moving to the township, there are 2 races in town. One is the Verizon race, and one is the Valentine's Day, the Cupid's Chase. Both of them go through the same neighborhood. I know that there are a lot of people that celebrate the Verizon race, and but there are also a lot of people, typically seniors, who are bothered by the races. It restricts access and potentially restricts emergency access. On the other hand, I know that, as Mr. Pilipchik said, the races are great for the town. But I asked the council and the administration to try to find another route so that one neighborhood only has to suffer the burden or the joy of a 5K race every year, and another neighborhood can also participate or share the burden. My second point is it's now springtime. Landscapers are starting up. I congratulate the administration for spending presumably significant taxpayer money to move the pickleball court from Lidgerwood Park to somewhere else, primarily because of noise. It'd be great if the administration could do a little bit more to address landscaping noise, particularly for landscape contractors. I do know that Maplewood recently enacted a policy of licensing landscape contractors, and I believe part of that was to educate them and to also let them know what the law is, and presumably have some influence over their use of equipment. I think that's something that Morristown could do, and I think that would be a great show of support, especially for the 1,600 registered voters who supported the referendum. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public?
My name is Ellen Seckler. I live at 10 Carolyn Court in the Windmill Pond section. I guess you have to have an opposing view to the pickleball section, so that's my side. I was here about 2.5 years ago petitioning for some pickleball courts. Wanted to know why I have to pay out-of-town rates to go play at Ginty when my town doesn't offer any possibility for me. Being a neighbor of Windmill Pond, I was privy to a lot of the conversations that were going on with the Morristown Field when they expanded their pickleball courts and did a lot of work, and they didn't have to put any sound barriers up. I feel for you for the noise, but to be honest with you, those courts were paved. There were no court nets put up until like October, November. I can't even imagine how many people could possibly have even played at the courts to make the noise volume that loud. And even when I went to get my pass, I was told they were only going to sell 50 passes. That's not a lot of volume out there. And so I'd like to know, if you are going to move them and you're going to change them, what option are you giving to the pickleball players now who already purchased the courts and are looking for some place to play? Not to mention the lessons and classes that you're doing with Jeannie and with Rich. Where are those people going to be playing? Are they going to be allowed to play because you got money from the, from the registration for lessons, and the people like us who pay don't have a place to play? I'd like to know what the options are going to be considered as to what you're going to do. Don't shut us down. We don't have any other place to go. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I see a hand in the back. You have to come up to the microphone, please.
I'm Lois.
You have to go to the microphone. You have to, so everybody can hear. You state your name and your address, and then you have 3 minutes.
Lois Glasser on 3060 Hart, and I have to second what she said because I've spent about $185 on passes to play pickleball, and every time I show up at Lidgerwood, there's hardly anybody there. And I have a couple of cohorts here. It's pretty empty 90% of the time. And we play during the day, and we don't play at night. So I don't understand about noise disturbance because I hear tennis players where I am too, and I work in my house, remotely. So I just feel like we need some place to go, and I shouldn't have to pay $185 to leave the town. So I agree with you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lois.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Amanda Goodwin and I live at 18 Erskine Drive.
I'd like to thank the town, first of all, for taking in the residents' considerations regarding pickleball. I'd like to make a couple of comments regarding the most recent comments with pickleball. I don't think the noises associated with pickleball can be disputed. If you go and do a simple Google search and just type in the terms pickleball noise, you'll see probably around 50 search results where there's been litigation, noise complaints, and other from throughout the US with people whereby this has significantly impacted their lives. I'd also like to offer that if you look at the examples of the distances where those people are having complaints, we're often talking about 50 or 100 feet. The courts at Lidgerwood Park, the back fence is about 10 feet from my property line, and there are 3 pickleball courts there. Whilst I fully acknowledge that everyone should have the ability to play pickleball, that's not in dispute. What's in question right now is the location. And I would just put forth that we've been in our property for 13 years now with the tennis courts, the Easter egg hunts, the baseball, the t-ball, the movie nights, and have never had a problem. But since the pickleball has come in, we have had noise, people playing pickleball at 6:30 in the morning, where we had to reach out to Jillian to have the courts locked because people were playing loud music because it's a very social sport. In addition, people were playing pickleball until it was practically pitch black at night, which in the summertime is actually quite late. So Jillian kindly coordinated with the police to have the courts locked at a certain time point. But, you know, that's also a resource for the town in that the police have to come out and spend their time doing it. So I would just like to make the point that the residents do not dispute the fact that people have a right to play pickleball or that they shouldn't be able to play pickleball. What's at question here is simply just the location of the courts, and we're just asking respectfully, given the significant impact that this has had on our lives, because the noise, and I encourage you all to Google this, is very challenging. It can be heard at very far distances, and we have no issue with the tennis at all. It's purely pickleball. And I would just like to encourage you all, if you're able to do some follow-up on that, if you have any questions. Residents are happily able to answer any questions, and thank you for listening to me today. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Ed Peters, 142 Washington Street. First, I'd like to extend my condolences. Did not know about Constance Montgomery. Went to school with her daughter, Lisa. Sorry to hear about that. I'm here to support the pickleball courts at Lidgerwood Field. Previously, in my younger days as a Morristown resident, I lived on 21 Edgewood Road, right across from Lidgerwood. I hear the sound of the pickleball when I'm visiting Edgewood Road, and that's the sound of recreation. That's what it is. And I realize it's loud, but I haven't even gotten my $25 pickleball pass yet for this year. And I walked down there recently, and the sound deadening, there were 2 people just practicing, and I could tell that was a reduction in sound. I first started playing pickleball in 2022 in a town-sponsored new beginner pickleball class that the town sponsored on the pickleball courts that are striped on the tennis courts. And yes, there's one still striped that way for pickleball. And the other night, there were 6 people playing on it because the pickleball court was locked. They probably hadn't bought their $25 badge. And it was sound. Noise is just a sound that someone finds offensive. I don't find the pickleball sound offensive. At times, there are sponsored groups, organized groups using the new pavilion, playing amplified music with a DJ. Sometimes I find that offensive. That's noise. Are we going to stop people from using the pavilion down there? Really, noise is in the ears of the beholder. And when you live near a park, you got to expect that. And fiscally, the town has spent $100,000 or more on these courts. And now to just lock them up and essentially flush that money down the toilet, to me, doesn't make any sense. And you're going to spend a lot more to build new courts somewhere to please all of us who are playing on them. And on Thursday coming up, I'll be playing in the new pickleball courts for the first time because once again, I'm in a town-sponsored pickleball class. Now I'm advanced beginner. So I'll be down there on Thursday night, I think 5:30 or 6:30, I can't remember what time it is. And I think it's 5:30 because of the late. And I'll be playing pickleball for the first time on those courts. And then later, I will go get my $25 badge to play with other people. Thank you. But I
Thank you.
support the pickleball courts.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Ed Seckler, 10 Carolyn Court in Windmill Pond. I just want to remind the council that about 2 years ago, you approved renovations for the Morristown Tennis Club. And in there, at the time, there were no pickleball courts. Now there are 6 with no sound barriers, and we can hear that in Windmill Pond. But it doesn't bother me. If the persons that live near a park, they need to expect some noise. And one other thing, there was a note about homelessness near the park. Was that ever proven? Because that was in the report, that it was noisy and there was homeless vagrants in the area. That's what we had heard. Is there any proof of that? Anybody?
We'll respond after public session.
Okay, all right, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I see a hand in the back.
Good evening. My name is John Williams, 1 Washington Avenue, and I'm here to speak in support of the pickleball. First of all, I want to thank the town and the administration for giving us the courts. It's much appreciated by many. Also want to acknowledge the noise issues. Definitely feel for the problems you're having with that. Would like to make a couple notes. One is that pickleball is hugely popular amongst all age groups, from elementary school, where it's taught in the gym class, up through seniors. And by seniors, I mean we have players today who are in their 70s, in their 80s, and there's even a few 90-year-olds that play on a regular basis. So I know the town will appreciate the fact that the seniors really like playing their pickleball. So one thing we would ask is that the Lidgerwood courts remain available until new courts are ready, so there will be no disruption. That's what the community is talking about mostly. They want to make sure there's no interruption in the pickleball availability until new courts are available. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Rosie Kitson. I'm at 2 Crestwood Road in Morristown, and I'm feeling very short with this very tall mic at the moment.
You can bend it down a little bit if you want.
Thank you.
Sure.
Maybe not. I'll just stand over here if that's okay.
We can hear you, yeah, just speak into it.
So I'm here in support of the pickleball courts as well. A couple of things. It's hard to ignore or defute the noise claims. In fact, that is part of the game. And if you play, the noise actually helps you play. So I would not argue with that point. But what I will very much like to point out is that before those 3 courts came in and the sound barrier came up, there was actually 2 pickleball courts on those tennis courts. Those pickleball courts were used. They were used frequently. I played on them every single weekend. They were not great courts, but they were free and easy to use. So we were on there. So pickleball noise is not just a phenomenon of these 3 courts. You had 2 courts there that were fully utilized before you put the sound barrier on. These new courts that went in did cost the town money. It did cost us all a loss of a tennis court and pickleball courts until they were fully refurbished and put in. And they're not used all that often. As I stated my address, I live less than a half a mile and in the radius that the gentleman before spoke of, that he walked around and heard the noise. I don't hear the noise where I live. I hear the noise as I approach the park. And even then, it's only when I get close to the courts themselves, past the gazebo, when you actually start to hear it. So I don't disagree that noise is an issue, but I don't feel that it is a debilitating issue. and it should cost the ability for all of us to continue to play. My last point in the last minute, Morristown was just recently awarded Best Retirement Town for Small Towns. Congratulations, another award for us. But in part of that write-up, it was noted that one of the large reasons for that award was our safety, but it was also the recreational programs that we provide. Taking away pickleball, you can hear the passion that there's a lot of people that really look at that for their form of socialization and exercise. With that, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? All right, I'm going to close public session. Councilman Russo, you look like you have something to say.
Oh, yeah. So thank you. For those who don't know, I'm the fourth ward councilman. I received some of your emails, responded back to them. So thank you for both the pro pickleball people and the people obviously with the noise. We've been to your home before to listen to that noise. So I truly see both sides of the aisle here. Lois, thanks for coming to a council meeting. Good to see you. So to my understanding, the administration will correct me if I'm wrong with anything here. The idea is to get these courts still in town, somewhere else, and there won't be, to my understanding, there won't be any kind of lapse in playing. So these will eventually, at some point, cease to exist, these pickleball courts on Lidgerwood, and they'll go somewhere else in town. But the idea, as I believe, is to have the other ones up and running before the current ones are taken down. So basically, there won't be any kind of lapse in play, and hopefully, you know, both parties involved can be, it'll work out for both parties involved. And I don't know if I say anything incorrect there.
Nope,
Nope,
you're absolutely
you're
correct.
100%
I'm
accurate.
not
All
sure.
right, I did.
Yeah,
Thank you.
not sure where the misinformation came from, but we have no intention of closing the existing courts until we find a location to reopen them and they're up and running.
Thank you.
Thank you. And another point is that that court needed to be resurfaced regardless of whether it was going to be used for pickleball or potentially some other recreational use, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Jillian, along those lines, when you do address it, and I think maybe the mayor's going to address it maybe, you have done a lot to try to mitigate the hours and the operations with the cooperation of the police. But one of the interesting things we heard tonight, first time, is that the courts are, somebody said only 90% of the time it's being used. Maybe we can look at the hours in the interim to see, and I'm sure you probably have done that.
Yes.
Have you already?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, we're constantly looking at how to balance the interest of the pickleball players as well as the neighborhood that's adjacent. So we're going to continue to sort of tweak that to try to reach a reasonable balance until we can find a different solution.
And the second point is, because you don't want to recreate an issue, let's make sure we talk amongst ourselves as to where this court is eventually going to be. Okay, all right. Because we asked what the plan was. You're not ready to present the plan yet.
Correct.
But please let us know, because we have constituents also.
Of course.
in the various
Any major project like this going forward, we would not do it, would not happen in a vacuum. You know, when we're ready to discuss it in detail, there will absolutely be a public discussion, and hopefully everybody will be
Great, thank
happy
you
about
very
the solution.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, today we had a great opportunity to see 2 point of views from different parts of the community, and that creates a little tension, but at the same time, we're seeing how administration has a plan to do the right thing, and I think that's a great thing, and I think we can continue being good neighbors and smiling to each other. Thank you.
Mr. Philip.
So, excuse me, I'll start at the top. Mr. Burns.
I think he went to the
just
bathroom.
left. Well, either way, thank you for bringing up, disability awareness. A lot of times when we talk about equal rights and everything, disabled people tend to be forgotten. And when we speak equal rights means everyone. So, Mr. Armington, for the 5K races, I hear you about the alternate courses. It's something that I've been trying to do. I just haven't been able to get traction on it, but you're absolutely right, and I'm working on it. The leaf blowers, we were at the Whippany River Watershed Action
Committee
cleanup on Saturday, and I turned to Mayor Doherty and I said, those are some great leaf blowers you hear right there at Headquarters Plaza. It's like the police officer right there. So I hear you on it. You know, I'm full support of banning leaf blowers, so I am definitely interested. And the Maplewood idea, it's not something I heard, so it's something I'm gonna look into. For the pickleball courts, regarding the Morristown Field Club, I was the chairman of the zoning board at the time of that application. I just want to clarify a few things on that. There were no new pickleball courts added to that, to the field club. They proposed, I can't remember off the top of my head, it was a few years ago at this point, 2 or 3, maybe 4 pickleball courts closer to the neighborhood. And through the negotiations of the meetings and everything, those were taken away because they saw the opposition to them. And what they added were 2 platform tennis courts. And those platform tennis courts were actually put on the James Street side of their property, not close to the residence. And they have been using those for pickleball. I've done a ton of research on pickleball noise, on platform tennis noise. I went out there during winter, I went there during summer, trying to hear exactly what the complaints are, and I understand pickleball does have sound. I live next to Alexander Hamilton School. It's a school. I know there's noise. There's a playground. I love playing with the kids at the playground. There's basketball courts. It's great. But when that basketball is bouncing around at 10:30 at night, when there's Bluetooth speakers blasting at inappropriate times, it definitely makes an impact. So just to reiterate what Mr. Anacone is saying too, I think we'll find the right spot for it. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I know you guys have ideas and you're looking at things, but it will be collaborative and we'll find the right spot for it.
Thank you. Councilman Iannacone, you had something else you want to
Well, I was going to, Bill's not here, so maybe I'll save it for when Bill. Bill's absolutely right with what he's talking about with Medicaid, because the federal cuts, Medicaid, when it particularly comes to people with special needs and it comes to children, those are federal matching funds, 70% of the funds. And if they get cut, there's going to be a lot of people suffering.
Yep.
And I think that when our opportunity comes to voice ourselves on this Medicaid issue, particularly as it relates to developmentally disabilities and children, we really do need to speak up.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the report of the mayor and town officials, please.
I don't think I need to talk about pickleball. I think you guys covered it.
Can you fix your mic, Mr. Mayor?
It always makes me talking to the mic.
Yep, thank you.
That is a record. But I also spent some time in the neighborhood, in their backyard. It is noisy. And I know it is a hot, people love pickleball. I'll be honest with you, my better half has been trying to convince me to play pickleball. But with my luck, I'll be in the orthopedic surgeon's office with a twisted knee or something, so I'm kind of hesitant. But you all look like you're in great shape, so maybe it's not as bad as I think it is. But we'll work it out. We'll figure it out. We know it's a passion for a lot of people in town, so just bear with us. We'll get it fixed. Couple quick things I want to touch base on. One is we talked about Constance Montgomery, but I also want to keep our chief of police in our thoughts and prayers. He lost a nephew last week in North Carolina, so don't forget that, and you can say hello to him when you see him after the meeting. I want to give a shout out to our police department for the parade, and the county, and all the police departments that participated in our town St. Patrick's Day parade, the county parade, from the county organizations with their trucks and the police departments that came down and helped out. There were no arrests in Morristown at this parade, and that's something that is really good. And I talked to a lot of the officers that were out there, and they really are very tolerant, and they are really very good with the public, with the younger folks who were having a good time at that parade. It was well attended. It was probably the difference I saw this year was it seemed to be a little bit older crowd, and it was packed. Those who went to the parade, this parade was I think the biggest I've seen in Morristown. Maybe it's post-COVID, maybe it's just people just got tired of a long, cold winter and they wanted to get outside, but hats off to the police department and Chief Darnell Richardson and his crew, and for the county and all the organizations that helped out to make that a successful parade, and of course the parade committee, who did a wonderful job this year with the parade. The 22nd Whippany River watershed we talked about briefly. It was a great cleanup. Great thank you for the volunteers that came out to clean up around the river. Also want to thank our Environmental Commission and the council, Councilman Umbriak, Councilman Russo, Councilman Pilipchek were at the cleanups. And we got some response from transit on some of the issues we talked about. I also want to publicly thank Councilman Iannacone for bringing the attention to transit to get a coffee shop back into the train station. They reached out today, and they're closing their RFPs, and they have about 9 people that are interested in doing that.
You need to get more traffic through that train
Yeah,
station.
so it's good. So I wanted to publicly thank you for that. Saturday, April 12th, from 10 a.m. to noon, the annual recreation Easter egg hunt. Who brought up the Easter egg thing at Lidgerwood? The Easter egg hunt at Lidgerwood, but you know, it's a good thing. There's a lot of kids running around looking for something in an egg, and the recreation department does a great job. It's a great event at Ledgerwood. That's Saturday, April 12th. Saturday, April 26th, from 9 a.m. to noon, Speedwell Leg Cleanup hosted by the Morristown Clean Communities in partnership with Cutler Park Neighborhood. That's Saturday, April 26th, 9 to noon. 10 a.m. is Arbor Day celebration at Bud Street Park near the basketball court. That's always a great event. And just briefly, I just want to read into the record some information on Connie. E. Constant Connie Montgomery was born and raised in Morristown, passed away on Sunday, March 16th, at the age of 93. Her celebration of life was today at 11 o'clock in Arizona. She lived in Morristown since she was 78 and moved to Goodyear, Arizona. Her service and contribution to our community is second to none. There are just some of her accomplishments. She worked at the Morristown Neighborhood House, Bell Laboratories, and AT&T. She was active in making Morristown more inclusive and integrated, and she had the first integrated Girl Scout troop in Morris County in 1952. She was one of the founders of the Corettes, a community organization founded in 1959, which provides scholarships and social activities to African-American high school juniors. She ran and won a seat on the Morristown School District Board of Education, the first African-American elected to that board. In 1975, she was appointed by Governor Byrne as a member of the State Board of Education, and she was elected to the Morristown Town Council at large. She held offices as president and vice president, and in 1989 she ran for mayor, only losing by 195 votes. She was the secretary of the Neighborhood Watch Group and remained involved in Concerned Citizens of the Second Ward, which focused on keeping African American citizens informed of critical issues that were impacted the quality of life in the community. She heavily participated in the Morris County Urban League, Morris County Fair Housing Council, the NAACP, League of Women Voters, and numerous other organizations in the town and in the county. And that's just some of her accomplishments. There's more, but that's all that I didn't want to spend too much time. I mean, there was a big, they put lots of good stuff in the paper, did a live post with it, and she was something people could look at and say, wow, this is somebody who was really committed to our community, as you all are. And her legacy will stand for a very, very, very long time. And had the pleasure of talking to her daughter several times out in Arizona. So our thoughts are with their family, and it's a life well lived, is all I really can say. Thank you. That's all I have, Council President.
May she rest in peace. Thank you. All right, let's move on to council liaison reports.
Yes, I do have a report.
Okay.
OHS performed the necessary heating system inspection of all occupants in the unit of the senior building. And Manhattan Village, the executive director reviewed each report. Apartments that had issues, where was addressed it by OSHS. MHA released the housing assistance payment to the OSH in the middle of March, effected immediately. The MHS management will be on site with staff that works there every time it's be an issue. That's it.
Thank you.
And Marco, I'll send you the report, okay? Yes, please.
Councilman Pilipchuk.
Sure, the Morristown Partnership met on the 11th. Two main items of topic were their elections. So nominations are closed on their elections, ballots are being printed, and the election opens April 1st. It'll be open through April 28th at 5 p.m. So anyone in town who is part of the city, any business owners in town, you'll be being mailed a ballot, but you can also reach out on their website, morristown-nj.org, to get more information on that. And as always, the League of Women Voters will be assisting with the ballot tabulation on that to make sure it's fair. And then the other item is Schedule A. The partnership has finalized it on their end. They will be sending it over to the administration and myself shortly. My understanding is by this week. And then hopefully we can get it on our agenda as soon as possible.
Thank you. Councilman Russo.
As far as the planning board goes, it's actually pretty quiet in Morristown at the moment. Therefore, there is no planning board meeting this month.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Silva.
Yes. MPA report, the activity report was issued on March 19th, which was the last meeting that we had at the MPA for commissioners. First, they have open positions as recruiting park supervisors. Job postings can be found on mpanj.org, mpanj.org. Morristown Public Parking Promotion, the MPA included a promotional insert highlighting public parking in town in the Morristown Partnership's quarterly business community mailing. Solar EV, solar panel roof installations are underway at the Hart and Dalton garages. Electric vehicle charging installations in Dalton, the Hart and Ambank will begin soon. The charges will be replaced, the outdated and unsupported charges that currently exist, and of course, charging fees will apply. Dalton Restoration 2025, work is expected to begin in the month of May upon completion of the solar project. Homestead request use of the Hart lot. The Board of Commissioners of the Parking Authority received a request from Bill Walsh, owner of the Hart Association, LLC, to use the Hart lot on May 3rd and June 7th, which were the two dates that we approved for them. They also requested September 13th and October 4th. The commissioners limited the discussion to May 3rd and June 7th. They just want to follow the town council lead. They approved them for these 2 dates, and Mr. Walsh said that also he will follow our advice, our lead. Maple Avenue entrance closure, and this is a very important announcement. March 26, approximately at 4 p.m., the Parking Authority will temporarily close the Maple Avenue entrance to the Hart Garage. It is expected to reopen by April 1st. During this period, parkers are advised to use the Hart Street entrance for access. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, let's move to regular business, Margot.
Okay. There are 2 ordinances for introduction this evening. The first is ordinance O-10-2025, ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a right-of-way easement along Franklin Street, Block 4401, across a portion of Lot 3.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number O-10-2025.
Second.
Are there any comments and questions from council? On the introduction of ordinance O-10-2025, Councilwoman Foster.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilman Polipchuk.
Yes.
Councilman Russo.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Ordinance O-10-2025 has been properly introduced by title and will be considered further after a public hearing on April 8th. Ordinance O-11-2025, ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a right-of-way easement along Franklin Street, Block 4401, across a portion of lots 4 and 5.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number O-11-2025.
Second.
Any comments or questions from council? On the introduction of ordinance O-11-2025, Councilwoman Foster.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lindsay.
Yes.
Councilman Polipchuk.
Yes.
Councilman Russo.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Umbreak.
Yes.
Motion carries. Ordinance O-11-2025 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered further after a public hearing on April 8th.
Thank you. We have no ordinances for adoption. We have no resolutions for adoption. We have no unfinished old business or new business. So I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.